Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to another Build a Mind podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Bello, and today I think I've got a good one for you. We're going to be diving into MeasureX. MeasureX is a comprehensive platform designed to optimize Bitcoin mining operations by offering advanced management and e-commerce features for digital asset mining facilities. Bitcoin mining facilities. This platform enables users to remotely control their mining equipment, monitor real-time power consumption, and manage their devices from anywhere using the MeasureX app. Our guest today is Til. Til is the founder and CEO of MeasureX, and they have been working for the last couple of years to bring this platform to market. And after my conversation, what I realized is this is something that is needed. At the end of the day, we need an easy way to onboard new clients into Bitcoin mining and give them the ability to manage and maintain their fleet without having to go through the really invasive process of, is my machine running? Like, how much am I paying for electricity? How do I pay for that electricity? And what happens if my machine goes down? How am I communicating with my hosting provider? So this is a really fun, really exciting conversation that I had with Til. At the end, we dive into MeasureX's platform and kind of show you exactly how it works, how the platform runs on the backside for the end user. There is an admin platform as well, so that you as the hosting provider can find out how to integrate this into your system. But at the end of the day, it's just a really easy way for you as the hosting provider to give all of these user abilities to the end client and helping you to streamline a lot of those processes. So, without further ado, we're going to get into the episode with Til. But before we do that, I have a couple of things I want to show you. And the first one, as always, is our Mastermind Club.
Welcome to the Mastermind Club, your ultimate gateway into the world of Bitcoin mining. Whether you're just starting out or looking to scale your operations, our vibrant community of like-minded enthusiasts is here to support you every step of the way. Join us for weekly sessions led by industry pros, where you'll exchange ideas, brainstorm strategies, and stay motivated on your mining journey. From heat management to site optimization, our monthly deep dives cover the technical know-how you need to succeed. And with access to our entire back catalog, you'll never miss a beat. But that's not all. Our members enjoy exclusive one-on-one sessions with veteran miners, plus direct access to special pre-sales and insider opportunities at Bitcoin Mining World. Ready to take your mining to the next level? Join the Mastermind Club today and secure your spot in the future of Bitcoin mining. Visit bitcoinminingworld.com or scan the QR code now. And now back to the show.
All right, you guys, I made it super easy. Go to the QR code there, scan the QR code, go to the link at the bottom of the screen, sign up for the Mastermind Club. It's a great place to go if you're trying to get into the Bitcoin mining scene. Now, the second thing I want to show you guys is a quick 2-minute video from Bitcoin Alaska. Bitcoin Alaska is a new conference up in Alaska that is trying to help change the narrative around Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining and what it can do for economies like Alaska. So watch this video. I think it's really, really good. As you guys can see, this is going to be a really great event. There's a lot of things happening. You can show up on the 1st of July, start with the run out to the glacier as well as the forge. And then there's a bunch of different events. There's a cruise. There's going to be a chili cook-off, a canoeing event, and obviously fireworks. And then the actual event itself starts, where we are going to be discussing a lot of the regulations and things happening within the Bitcoin space and how that will affect Alaskan residents and Alaska's energy consumption as well. So I think this is going to be a really great event for anybody who's looking to get out to Alaska, enjoy some of the scenic vibes, and talk about Bitcoin. So go to bitcoinalaska.org to get your tickets, and I recommend getting them sooner rather than later, because flights to Alaska aren't going to get any cheaper. They're going to get more expensive, and lodging in the area is going to get more expensive too. So plan accordingly, get there soon, and I will see you there. All right, let's dive into the conversation with Til. Here we go. Now, Til, can you just give us a high elevator pitch on what MeasureX is?
Yes. First of all, thanks a lot, Trevor. Happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation. So what is MeasureX? MeasureX is a tool for e-commerce and CRM for hosting companies. So instead of having different tools for everything related to your hosting operations, we try and we give you the possibility to combine everything in one solution. So you can monitor your customers, you can monitor your equipment on site, you can manage your products you're selling to your customers, and then most important stuff, the after sales, which means in hosting, the billing and customer support. This is what MeasureX does.
Yeah, is this specifically for hosting companies only, or could would it work for somebody who's just trying to manage and operate their own mining facility?
It's mainly for hosting providers, because our focus is not just on the monitoring, our focus is more on e-commerce and sales. And therefore, of course, hosting providers who are opening their inventory to retail clients who are interested in starting Bitcoin mining.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, because there's a lot of different moving parts when you become a hosting provider. You have to manage contracts, you have to manage the actual procurement of the machines, selling the machines to your clients. And so you're kind of just bringing this all in-house in one platform, making it a lot easier and maintainable or manageable for the hosting provider themselves. Is this something? Well, okay, I don't want to get too far into it right now. We're gonna dive down that road here in a bit. So Til, I wanna get to know you a little bit. I like to give the audience an understanding of who our guest is and just give a little brief history. So, could you tell us, what is your orange pill story?
Okay, yeah. So the orange pill story, I think it's similar to all the other orange pill stories. So I heard about Bitcoin a few years ago when it was, I think, at $500 or euros. But at that moment, I did nothing, of course, because you know how it is. Somebody explained me, hey, did you heard about this stuff, which is called Bitcoin? I said, yeah, no, not yet. But what is it? Yeah, you can buy this. And then you have a token or a coin, which is called Bitcoin. But at that moment, I did nothing, because I asked that person, okay, can I touch it? Can I do something with that stuff? And they said, no, it's just on your computer, and maybe it will increase in value. And then I said, okay, no, no thanks. And then a few years later, which was, I think, in 2017, I heard about it again. And then I just said, okay, now just let's try it out. So I bought some Bitcoins at that moment and just played around, sent money, received money. So I opened different wallets and just tried out, what does Bitcoin mean? So that's how I started. And then, due to the fact that I was getting more interested in economics and all that stuff, because at that moment I was 18, 19 years old, and beside my normal job, I said, okay, maybe I can earn some money in addition. And then I started to get more interested in economics. So I bought some books, read a lot of stuff, then listened to some ebooks, podcasts, and all these kind of things. And then beside that, I also read stuff about Bitcoin even more. So for example, the Bitcoin standard, which everybody has to read in my eyes. And I realized that it's something completely different to the normal economic stuff, which you normally read in the books. So, and then more and more, I read even more step by step and get way more interested in that stuff. And beside that, the value in Bitcoin increased. So I said, okay, it was worth it. So, and then it evolved. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to me how most people come into Bitcoin. It starts off with this like very like hesitant, like I don't know what that is. I don't know how to touch it. I don't know how to hold on to it. It's a digital thing. It doesn't exist in meat space. So therefore it's not worth my time. And I think that once you start diving down that economics rabbit hole, you really start to understand that money doesn't have to be this physical thing that we transact between each other, that it can be a non-physical good. I mean, you think about, like, are you familiar with like the rhinestones and of Yap
Yes.
Island? So I mean, like they were physical, but they never moved hands like in a physical way. They were very much like in the hearts and minds of the people. And it was just like you go to the town square and you say, oh, Till now owns this rhinestone that, Trevor used to have. And, when you start to think about it like that, when you frame it in that way, you start to realize like, oh, maybe sound money is better in a digital form. This is an issue that I've had several times trying to explain to people, like, oh, I'm into Bitcoin, and they're like, I don't trust Bitcoin. I'm like, well, why don't you trust Bitcoin? They're like, well, because it's not real. And I'm like, well, what do you mean not real? Like your dollars are not real, So I
Yeah.
really I love how you said that. But then I also think it's interesting that, like, for anybody who really wants to dive down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, it does. It starts with these, podcasts and books and other reading materials. I started reading Svetsky. I read Alex Gladstein, Jeff Booth. Obviously Seyfedin Amus. But then there's also you can watch the Andreas Antonopoulos videos, and you watch these, and you just get like and I'm curious if this was kind of like how it happened for you, but you get so excited and you just like you become a sponge and you just have to absorb all of this information, and like maybe you don't absorb all of it, but you just like keep going and you keep hammering that nail.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Especially with Andreas Antonopoulos, if you read Internet of Money and all the books, you realize how smart the idea is. So everything behind Bitcoin is so smart. The connections between everything what was there before, so proof of work was there before, and all that stuff. But the combination of all of that is so smart. And beside that, the reason that, for example, if you ask people on the street, what is money? I think nobody has a real good answer for that. Because for everybody of them, it's the money on my bank account, it's the paper money I have in my pocket, but nobody can give you an explanation like you receive in, for example, the Bitcoin standard. So that's true.
Yeah, I love that. And are you familiar with Robert Breedlove's podcast, What Is Money?
No, not really, to be honest.
Yes. So his podcast is based around this question, what is money? So he has all these really deep, introspective, insightful, philosophical episodes about like the nature of money, and how the money system has been destroyed and just kind of devalued and corrupted over the last 2 centuries at this point. And it's very interesting, the different types of guests that he gets on. The first guest he ever had on was Michael Saylor. He had some other really good guests on. And I really love this question, what is money? Because when you ask somebody what is money, like you said, they all have a different thought around it, and you can tell based on their explanation of what is money how far down the rabbit hole they are.
Yeah.
Really, like you ask what is money, and they're like, oh, it's the dollars in my pocket. It's like, all right, you haven't taken the step down the rabbit hole yet. But then when you start getting like the answers, like it's energy, it's a mediation or a form but to transact value between two parties. It's like, all right, maybe you get it. It's interesting. And there's what I love about the Bitcoin space is there's so much to unpack, and there's so many different like avenues that you can travel down. And so no matter what type of person you are, you're obviously a developer, you're, somebody who likes to build web development, build platforms, and, we're kind of going to get into MeasureX, but like that's your bread and butter, that's your forte. And you found a place within Bitcoin that has allowed you to develop those skills, foster those things that you enjoy. Whereas someone like me, like, I love having conversations, I love talking with people, and I like doing a podcast. Well, guess what? Bitcoin enables me to do that too. And so
Yeah.
we all find our natural place within the Bitcoin ecosystem. And I really do love that about Bitcoin as a whole. So I want to dive into a little bit about MeasureX, but before we dive into that, I'm curious, what was that catalyst? I mean, now you've got Bitcoin, you understand it, you've done, your 1,000 hours, or you're in the process of doing your 1,000 hours of understanding Bitcoin. What was that catalyst that told you, hey, I need to do something within the mining space?
That's in fact a quite funny story in my eyes. So as I said, I just started with just buying some Bitcoins, wait and see, read about it. And then I just discovered, okay, there's more than just buying, which is the mining. But at that moment, I had no clue how to mine the Bitcoins and all that stuff, what is needed for that. So I started research on the internet. Then I found out there's a company which is called Bitmain. They're selling these miners. Nobody knows them. So I just said, okay, let me just purchase some miners. So I bought some miners a few years ago, I think 2018, 19, and received them at my home base. So now I'm living in Germany, and electricity prices in Europe, especially in Germany, they're quite high. So I had these 3 miners at my home base in my apartment, tried to connect them, had no clue how to set them up and all that stuff. But after a few days or a few hours, of course, I knew how. But then, if you have 3 miners running in your apartment, you have 25 degrees inside, you have 100 decibel of noise inside, and people going crazy. So your neighbors going crazy. So I said, okay, I need to place these miners somewhere else. So I was just thinking about where can I place them? Maybe parents' home base, whatever. But then I just figured out that there were some small companies out there called hosting companies. But at that moment, there weren't so many hosting companies. It was just a private person somewhere in the middle of nowhere who said, okay, give me a call and I will place your miner. So I just met with that guy and placed my miners over there. But it's something strange if you purchase for thousands of euros equipment in China and then give it to somebody you never met. And
Kind
it's
of
just
sketchy.
running exactly in a container somewhere in the middle of nowhere. So I said, okay, but there needs to be a smarter way to that. Maybe that's a business case, because each problem is a business case in the end. I had the problem that I was not able to run the miners at my home base. So there needs to be a professional way to place these devices. And that's how step by step that evolved with, how it is in our space. Space is quite small. So you met a lot of people, you can talk to a lot of people. And then this idea evolved with friends and colleagues. And then step by step, we grew that company. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we started with hosting, in fact.
Yeah. So when you decided to start building MeasureX, when the plan started to formulate, had you seen anyone else in the space? I mean, I'm going to be 100% honest here. I haven't seen any platforms like your platform. This is the first I'm hearing of a all-encompassing hosting management platform.
To be honest, there are a lot of software companies right now in this space which are focusing on monitoring and all the other tools. But what we do is a complete different approach. But this we will see when we dive deeper into MeasureX itself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you really hadn't noticed anyone else doing it, and it was more of a thought on your part of saying, "Hey, this is something that I need. This is something that others are going to need as well. So if not me, then who? At the end of the day, I've got to build it."
Yeah, especially at that moment in 2020, 2021, there was definitely no tool to do what we were in need for. Because, as I said, we started out with hosting ourselves. So we placed our miners, and then, website, you receive requests from other people. Hey guys, do you have space? Because I have some miners, can I place them with you? And we grew really fast in 2021, especially with the bull market. From one day to another, we received 40 requests more per day instead of the months before. And we had a big problem with scaling and having control of customer support and sales and billing especially. So we had to, at that moment, we were just 4 people managing this company. And we had in the peak 3 different locations. So we had one location in Belgium next to a biogas center, and then 2 locations in Norway. But we were still just 4 people managing these locations. And for us, the biggest problem was the billing, because you know how it is. Normally, you invoice upfront electricity, because the business model of a hosting company is purchase electricity, add a markup on it, and sell it to retail clients and take care of their devices. But you get a big problem if you purchase electricity upfront from the grid provider or the electricity provider, but if you have not paying customers, which is a quite big problem. And in the end, it's not really a fair play, because we always say that in the mining industry, we are sitting in the same boat. You know, if you as a hosting provider, if you're having a problem, your retail clients, they also have a problem. And the other way around, if your retail clients has a problem, you as hosting provider, you have a problem. So long story short, we had many issues with open invoices, discussions with customers, because they don't pay the invoice. You call them, ask, hey, why didn't you pay your invoice? They said, yeah, my miner was offline for 5 minutes, so I need a credit note before I can pay my invoice. So a lot of discussions where there's no need for discussions. So that's why we invented this solution, normally just for ourselves, to keep track of the billing and measurements in real time, and then bill it to the customers.
Yeah,
That's how we started.
I definitely see, because you're based out of the UK. I definitely see a need for a platform like this, because we're hearing there's a lot of like there's really high energy prices in Europe right now, and it just seems like every day those energy prices are getting more and more expensive. It's been happening for a long time now. So people who want to get into the mining space, like, they don't really have that option of doing it at their home base, like you kind of were talking about. I mean, that's astronomically too expensive to set up one of these miners, let alone 10, 20, 100 of these things. So hosting kind of seems like the natural course. But then how do you navigate all the different moving parts that come with a hosting provider? How do you make your clients feel comfortable, feel safe with sending you $100,000 worth of equipment, or 100,000 euros worth of equipment, in order to manage and run these mining rigs? Then they need to feel safe and feel comfortable. And so I feel like this is kind of like the natural step, that natural progression that you took in order to help the end user, which is the mining the mine operate, or the person who's purchasing the miners and running the miners through the hosting platform, and the hosting platforms themselves. How do you make them all feel comfortable? And I think this is one solution that does that really well. I'm kind of curious about the way that you manage those energy contracts. Could you dive a little bit more into like the way that that's facilitated?
Yeah. So normally, the only thing you have as a retail client is one invoice per month. So you receive an invoice, $500 per device, whatever, but nothing else. And that's the missing transparency. Exactly the point which you just mentioned. You need to trust the people where you're placing your devices. So there needs to be full transparency. That's why we said, okay, we need dashboards also for the retail client. It's fine if we as a company, we see consumptions, we see devices, we see our customers. But of course, our customers, they need to see also something beside the pool, beside their wallet, and beside just one paper per month. And therefore, we invented the customer area. And the billing is completely different to a monthly billing. So it's not like one invoice per month with us. What we offer is a balance and deposit system. So you can, as a retail client, you can just top up money. let's say $500, and this $500 is stored for you for your electricity fees, service fees, whatever. And what we do is we measure with smart PDUs the exact consumption per device, and then we invoice every day the consumed electricity from yesterday. So it's impossible for a retail client to pay too much, and it's impossible for a hosting provider to earn too less. So that's the thing how we solve the liquidity issue, and also the support stuff afterwards. If there's no need for discussion, you don't receive phone calls, emails, and all that's these other things. So let's say daily billing instead of monthly upfront invoices.
Yeah, no, this is actually a great thing, because like you were saying, the biggest issue you're having is the amount of people flooding you because their machines are down, or they're paying too much for electricity, or they don't understand how the back end is operating. So they're calling you, which I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but when you're having like 150 of these conversations in the same week, it can become very draining. So what's the solution here? Well, transparency, helping the customer, whether it's the hosting provider or the end user, understand how things are working so that they feel more confidence in the platform that they're using. I think this is great. And then to the point of, you know, using smart PDUs to meter the amount of electricity consumed. This is awesome because the end user, let's say they want to overclock, and they want to just use as much energy as they possibly can. You're able to watch how much energy they're using, and they're able to upfront say, hey, I'm going to overclock, so I'm going to put $500 in my account over there on MeasureX, so I know that I can overclock this, and that uh energy consumption is going to be billed for this amount of time. And then, hey, I can watch it slowly move from that account, from the holding account, to MeasureX. And then I'm like, oh, look, I need to top up again. Or they can kind of cut back on their power consumption. They can run a little bit leaner, a little more efficient, but still the same thing applies. I think that is really innovative, Till. Like I gotta say, like I've never seen a platform like this. There's not, I mean, there's obviously monitoring services. There's like different ways that you can monitor your machines as an end user, but there's really not an all-encompassing platform that does all of these different things. So, like, great job for seeing this problem, because I think this is something that's actually massively needed.
Yeah, especially when it comes to overclocking and avoiding of emails and phone calls. It was in our case, it was, of course, we like our customers, or at that moment we liked our customers, but you can avoid any discussions upfront, which is the best case for customer satisfaction. That if there is no need for a problem, or there is no need to solve a problem, because there's no reason for that. And especially with the smart PDUs, you have even more options, like let's say shutting down the operations when it's needed, whatever. But as you said, with overclocking, there's direct or 100% transparency, and the customers, they can do what they want to. If there's somebody who would like to overclock, go for it, because then, yeah, you have to pay more, but there's no problem for the hosting provider.
Mhm.
And let's say worst case, if there's a retail client who's not paying the electricity bill, okay, then that's how it is. But then the device will just shut off due to the smart PDUs. So we always say MeasureX allows the hosting providers. It's impossible to have open invoices, which is really important in our space. Hosting providers, they deal with a huge amount of electricity. And in 2022, after the bull market, when the bear market hits, for example, you saw Core Scientific, they went bankrupt because they had a lot of customers not paying their electricity bills. So you need to get rid of these issues of open invoices and liquidity squeeze.
Mhm. So I'm curious. I want to, like, say I'm a hosting provider. I have a 1 megawatt mining facility. I'm capable to move up to 5 megawatts, and I bring people's machines in. What does it look like on my end if I decide I want to start integrating MeasureX into my hosting business? Like, what are some of the prerequisites? Obviously, it sounds like I need to have smart PDUs so that I can, correlate the energy consumption, energy use to the platform. But what are some of the other things that I would need on my end in order to use MeasureX at its full capacity?
Yeah. First of all, it's not 100% required that you need to have smart PDUs. If it's not possible for you, of course, we also have other ways to measure the electricity, but not as accurate as with smart PDUs. But of course, if you have an, let's say, old mining container and you would like to use MeasureX anyhow, there are possibilities. We can also measure software-based or calculation-based. That's definitely possible. And the only thing you have to do is, let's say, give us a call that you're interested in, because we help you with the setup. Reason is the following: MeasureX is not, we are not the company dealing with your customer. It's still your hosting location. It's your brand. You have built a brand for your hosting provider services. And we are just a service, let's say the Airbnb running in the background to help you to connect with your retail clients. So the dashboard you see, which is the customer area, that's a white label solution. So you can just tell us, I would like to have my logo here. I would like to have my color scheme like this. I need to use this font. We completely integrate your brand or corporate identity in our platform. So you have a unique login and environment for your customers, which is in our eyes also quite unique, because the customers are still your customers. So they need to feel like home in your own environment. So if your website looks like this, everything in green and buttons in orange, and you see then our dashboard black and white and orange buttons, it looks quite different. So they need to feel like home. So we set up a complete customer area for you. And then beside that, we integrate all processes beside the normal operations. Because monitoring is one thing, but that's mainly also for self-mining companies. Yeah, you need to see everything for your equipment. But if you're dealing with retail clients, of course, you need to integrate also payment gateways, also done by us. So just tell us which payment methods you would like to use. But we will see this at a later stage when we dive into the solution. So we help you to integrate all that stuff. In fact, long story short, the only thing you need is a mining location, some customers online, some devices online, and we help you to implement a nice solution.
Yeah, so basically, like anybody who's a hosting provider, it doesn't matter the scale of your hosting, hosting solution. At the end of the day, you just sign up with MeasureX and you guys walk the hosting provider through all the different functionalities. You show them what they need, and they end up like this. I presume this can be integrated into their website. So they have their website. I'm just gonna say Abundant Minds at this point. They got like a green color scheme with black and whatnot. They would literally have a button that log in to your dashboard. So if you're a client of Abundant Minds, you could just click that button, put in your credentials, and go to your specific dashboard, and it's all the color schemes are the exact same, and it just makes it that much easier. So it doesn't feel, like you said, it doesn't feel like you're moving from one platform to another platform. It feels like it's all integrated seamlessly into Abundant Minds or Core Scientific or Kaboom Rax's website. Their brand recognition, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. So you don't even see that we are in the background because the invoices, they are from the hosting provider to the retail client. We just take care of everything related to that. So
gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So no, the end user doesn't even know that the hosting provider is using MeasureX. They just see all these really unique features and functionalities. That's actually really great. I like that. You're kind of like the silent hero in the background, helping things just move along. I love that. Well, shoot, man, like let's dive into the actual dashboard of it. You can start to explain some of the core features and whatnot. So we're going to move over here to this page. If you guys are looking on our screen for the listening audience, it will help if you're watching, but yeah, so this is the main page of MeasureX platform for hosting providers. This is for the actual hosting provider, not necessarily for the end user, specifically tailored for hosting. So Til, you just take it away. I'm going to ask some questions along the way, but this is your show. I'm just in the background.
Perfect. Just interrupt me if you have some questions or if you would like to dive deeper into some points. So what you see here, guys, is the customer area, how it looks for your end users, and all the possibilities behind. So in fact, the big idea behind MeasureX. First of all, our reason or our main idea is to combine separate logins into one. You know how it is as a retail client, you need your electricity bills from the hosting provider, you need your pool logins, you need your wallet, you need maybe a VPN access to access the equipment on site of the hosting provider. So you need a lot of tools to just run your operations. And we try to combine everything in one dashboard, which gives you visibility of everything. Reason is the following. At the moment, Bitcoin mining is just possible for, let's say, the Bitcoin maxis. So the people who know how to start mining, where to purchase the equipment, how to set up the equipment, and how to move transactions from the pool to the wallet and all these kind of things. But the point is, especially now when Bitcoin price is rising since a few months, there are way more people out there who would like to dive into Bitcoin mining. Now, so same story as I explained how I started. I just purchased some miners, but I had no clue how to start. So at that moment, I would be happy to have a platform like MeasureX. So we try to help hosting providers to onboard way more customers out there which are interested in Bitcoin, have no clue about what is a pool, how to set up the equipment. And the reason is they don't need to know, because most of the stuff is handled by the system. So what does customers see? As a retail client, you'd like to see everything. As we just discussed, Trevor, you would like to have full transparency. So what do you see? First of all, you need to see your equipment. Is it online? Do you have some problems like you see here, running equipment and errors? Okay, that's for the devices. But then the other topic is the fiat transactions. So electricity fees, all that stuff. Therefore, as I said, we have the balance and deposit system, which you see over here. So you can top up money, which is then stored as your balance. And this money is used for electricity fees on a daily basis. Again, this dashboard, that's just our demo dashboard with some fonts here, some color scheme over there. And this is, again, completely a white label solution. So hosting providers can decide, I would like to have my logo on top here. In the background, I need different pictures. I would like to have another button color, another font, of course. So it's a complete white label solution. Beside the monitoring on a retail customer level and the fiat transaction level, you like to see what is happening in the pool. So what does my device do? And therefore, we have the tool, which is our, let's say, Bitcoin wallet. In fact, it's not a Bitcoin wallet because we are not storing any coin, or the hosting provider also doesn't store any coin. But we would like to show also what is happening in the pool in our dashboard. So therefore, you can see also here what is happening in the pool. So pending pool balance.
Yeah, so sorry, I wanna interrupt here for a second. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what pool that the end user is using, because you can mine to whatever pool you want. You could mine to Ocean, you could mine to Brains, you could mine to Demand Pool. Are you integrating their like website into this, or like how does that integration work to where I can see what's happening on the pool side?
To be quite honest, at the moment, we are working with a few pools, not all of them, because they're also popping up new pools all the time. So we have some partners like Luxor, NiceHash, which we can easily integrate. But what we do is we connect everything to with them via API. So 100% transparency, because it's their database. You have an account over there. We just show you what is happening at the account over there. Later stage, you will see even more details why we just work with a few pools, because even the setup process is way more automated.
Okay.
So
So it doesn't work with like you can't see it for every pool. You can just see it for the ones that you have partners with, or is there still a basic dashboard that you could see for every pool?
of course, for every pool, you have everything beside the Bitcoin wallet. But to be quite honest, if you are a hosting provider and you call us, hey, we would like to implement MeasureX, but it's not possible with the pool at the moment, just tell us which pool you would like to have implemented. In software development, nearly everything is possible. So we just set up this new pool also in your solution. It just takes a while.
I love software devs, man. Like I'm not a computer native like thinker. I don't think about coding and development. And so I don't really think about all the functionality and features that you can get through APIs and software. But I know that there's so many things possible. And I'm just like, man, I wish my brain worked like that. I have more of like an engineering brain. I think of like things like how systems work and less of like the computer, like, oh, this thing does this thing and you can type this code out and it does this thing, bing bang boom. Like, so I have a completely different mind, but I love how your guys' brains work, man. I'll tell you what. All right, I'll let you continue. Sorry for the interruption.
No worries, no worries. So again, what do we have? We have the monitoring for the operations. We have the fiat transactions for electricity, and we have everything happening in the pool. What else is needed at the moment? Nothing. Of course, some people would say, okay, the monitoring, it's just device online, device offline, device error, whatever. Reason is the following. Therefore, you have other specialized tools. As I said, we are not really just a monitoring tool. We are more an e-commerce and CRM tool for hosting providers. But for the retail clients I just mentioned, the people who bought some Bitcoins, it turned out well, and they would like to dive deeper into Bitcoin mining. The only thing they would like to see is my device running? How much do I have to pay for electricity? And what do I earn? So we give calculations directly, cost, earnings, profit, and that's what they would like to see. To be honest, if my father would ask me, how can I start Bitcoin mining? He doesn't care about the chip temperature. He doesn't care about fan speed and all that stuff. The only thing he cares about, is it online? How much do I have to pay? And how much do I get? So this is why it's really a downsized monitoring solution for the real needs for retail clients. Besides the stuff we just mentioned, of course, we give some more transparency. You can keep track of your Bitcoin earnings the last months. You can keep track of electricity consumptions the last months. And that's just a dashboard. So now to dive a bit deeper into it, of course, that's your all-in-one, let's say, all your operations overview, but you would like to see also on a minor level what is happening. And therefore, of course, you can also keep track on a minor level what is happening with one device. So is it online? Is it offline? How many terahashes do you have at the moment? And again, the point, what we said in the beginning, as a hosting provider, the only emails and phone calls you receive is about invoices and about problems. Your customers, they don't call you to ask how is the weather tomorrow. So to avoid these emails and phone calls, you need to give them some tools to do everything themselves. So first of all, invoicing questions we solved because transparency on consumptions. Second thing, if there's an error, normally it's solved if you just plug out the miner and plug it in again. But therefore, they call you and ask, hey, Trevor, my miner is down. Can you just go there, disconnect and reconnect? With our solution, they can just click restart and then click restart and restart the device. And then it's shutting down and turning on again. Hopefully problem solved.
Okay.
So as I said, we try to give you the tools as hosting provider to let your retail clients do whatever they want to do with their devices. As you said, with overclocking, as I said, with restarts. And if they do it just themselves, you don't have to do it. So just to give you an idea, when we implemented the solution for ourselves, we decreased from one day to the other 80% of our phone calls and tickets, which is first of all a lot of less stress, increased customer satisfaction, but especially on the operational side, you can save costs for people on site. Mm-hmm. The people on site, they don't need to run all the day, connecting devices and answering questions about invoicing and all that stuff, because retail clients, they can do it themselves. So you can report issues. At the moment, you just see a downsized version because we integrate your ticketing system. So it's not really we didn't invent everything ourselves. So we take your ticketing system, which you already have. If you use Zendesk, for example, so you can just connect it and you receive tickets from your clients within Zendesk if there's a need for a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, let's say, the operational side. And now, as I said, what we do is we measure exactly what your devices consume. And then what we do, everyday billing. So you have your wallets. And what we do is we just deduct the electricity consumed from yesterday. So full transparency on each side. We just, as a retail client, you just pay what you consume. And in worst case, your balance is down because, of course, the balance is decreasing every day. The only thing you have to do is go to top up and then just type in the amount you as a retail client would like to top up. If you're not really interested in that stuff, then you top up $5,000 and then everything is fine for the next 3 months. But if you're, let's say, interested in the mining a lot, you can top up each week, whatever.
So,
and then
sorry, I have a quick question. Obviously, we're mining Bitcoin. There's a daily amount mined, and that goes to their wallet, and you don't have any control over the wallet. But is there a way to use the Bitcoin as a way to top up that balance, or do they have to top up in fiat?
depends on the hosting provider. So as I said, if you have your location, as you said, 1 megawatt location, let's call it Trevor Mining, and you would like to integrate MeasureX, we will ask you, okay, Trevor, nice, but which payment methods you would like to accept? Do you just go for fiat, credit cards, and all that stuff, or would you like to accept also Bitcoin transactions or Ether transactions? So we can connect, let's say, Coinbase Commerce, we can connect Stripe, Morley, and all these kind of payment services. And you decide which payment methods you would like to accept.
Gotcha.
And it goes from the retail client to you as hosting provider.
Okay.
And that's exactly the main point which differs us from other solutions which are focused on monitoring. We really integrate the payment process into the hosting.
Mm-hmm.
Reason is the following: it saves time again for you and your retail client. So you don't have to check, is this invoice still open, or did this customer paid, which day, whatever. The customers can decide when they would like to pay.
Mm-hmm.
They just top up, decide which payment method, and they top up $500.
Yeah, I have some friends who manage hosting facilities. They own hosting facilities, and their biggest thing is like while they want to hold Bitcoin because they're Bitcoiners and they believe in it, the fiat to Bitcoin rails are not easy, and you can't pay your electricity in Bitcoin. It doesn't matter who you are. You cannot go to your electricity provider. You're not going to ERCOT to pay them in Bitcoin. It's not happening. And what my buddy always says, he's like, I like the fiat rail of like accepting fiat for payment of our services, because I always know that I'm getting that fiat, and when I want Bitcoin, I just transfer it to Bitcoin. So what you're saying is, at the end of the day, it matters on what the hosting provider wants to get paid in, whether they want to be paid in Bitcoin, fiat, or both. It's up to them, and then you just integrate that after the fact. You kind of just work with them to figure that out.
Exactly. And even if your customers say they would like to pay with Bitcoin, but due to the services like Coinbase Commerce or Confirmo, you decide as hosting providers what you receive. If your customers pay in Bitcoin, but you would like to receive USD, okay, then the payment provider does the transaction.
Gotcha.
So that's, let's say, again, opening as many possibilities to attract more retail clients.
Yeah.
So we are really on the sales side of the hosting providers, helping them to increase sales and after sales. And this is exactly the point, or this brings me to the next point of features we have in our system. Let's say your retail client is really happy with your operations because you're a nice guy, the location is nice, everything is running smooth. So they would like to increase their mining fleet. Normally, and all hosting providers know that, the customers, they will call you and ask, hey, Trevor, I have two S19 miners, but now I would like to upgrade my fleet. So what is the price for an S21? So you have to request the price in China, whatever. And then you have discussions. Okay, what can we do with the price? And is there an offer for me? And if I pay today, when is the miner connected and all that stuff? Even with after sales or upselling, you have a lot of phone calls and discussions. And therefore, we invented the e-commerce process also in our solution. As I said, MeasureX, billing, and e-commerce. And the only thing your customers have to do is they just need to add miners. So just click on add miner, and then you have the e-commerce process within MeasureX. So you as a retail client, you can decide purchase a complete new miner, or maybe you already have a miner at your home base and you would just like to place it with your hosting provider. So I already have a miner, let's say, and then I can just search for my device, which I would like to place with the hosting provider. Let's say an S19J Pro. Next step, and then I see the order overview. For my miner, I have to pay a balance and I have to pay a deposit. Then another point which we get rid of is having phone calls and manual creation of contracts. So for hosting providers, normally you're creating your hosting contracts on a customer base, on a customer level, and then having discussions with the contract duration and all these kind of things. This is handled by the system also. So your clients, they can just check the terms and conditions. They can check the hosting contract. Of course, they need to accept it if they would like to host with you, and then just decide which payment method they would like to use. And then everything is handled by the system. If the order is paid, you as hosting provider, you get a notification, new order placed, incoming device and miner S19J Pro from John Doe, and then just place it. But everything is handled in advance. Contract signed, bill is paid, and the device is on the way. Let's say, yeah, sorry.
I was gonna say that's awesome, because this really gets rid of a lot of the friction for hosting providers, and now all the hosting provider has to do is procure the machine, get the machine plugged in, and assign it to the end user. I love this. Sorry, continue.
Okay. Now the, of course, best case for hosting providers is if they purchase the device with you and also host it with you. Therefore, let's say me as a retail client, I don't have a device yet, but I see here what Trevor Mining is offering at the moment. So Trevor Mining offers S19J Pros, S21s. Then just select one of the devices, and same here. Same order process, same overview, but in addition to just the balance and the deposit, of course, you would like to purchase the equipment. So you see the device price. There's no discussion for prices or about discounts, whatever. Here's the price, take it or leave it, accept the terms and conditions, payment process again, decide which payment method you would like to use, and go for it. And yeah, same here. So automation of sales process on a hardware level, automation of sales process on a hosting contract level, automated invoice creation, and then best case the device is placed as soon as possible. And then also afterwards, the billing on a daily basis. So best case, your customers, they don't even have to call you once. They can do everything themselves. Just log in, add your miners, purchase miners, and keep track of your operations.
This is a beautiful, beautiful way to, integrate all of these different functionalities that hosting providers need in order to provide a better service. And I like the way that all of it looks. It's very clean, it's very easy to navigate. And this is also very important for the end user, because when things are really confusing and there's all these different buttons and there, you don't know how to navigate the service, it becomes very difficult. And when we're talking about people who, they don't understand Bitcoin, they might not even understand how the internet works at the end of the day, and they're used to like their iPhone, and they click an app and it brings up the page and they go do the thing. It makes it so much easier for these people to understand, okay, here's my Bitcoin miner, or whatever cryptocurrency miner I'm saying Bitcoin because I'm a maximalist, but here's my Bitcoin miner, here's how much I'm paying for the miner, here's how much I'm paying for electricity, and this is the amount of Bitcoin that I receive on the back end. And I think this is just absolutely incredible. It's a great service for people because, hey, want transparency. So I love what you're doing here, and I think that it's very valuable for hosting providers too, because at the end of the day, you're reducing the amount of time spent on navigating these issues that the end user might have.
Exactly, especially the end users you just mentioned, the guys who just try out and don't even know how to deal with it. As I said, we have the, let's say, Apple approach. Everything needs to be self-explaining and intuitive. Even the setup process. So we just talked about the purchase process, but afterwards or someday you need to set up your equipment. If it's at the location, you need to set up your pool and all that stuff. Also here, there's no need for the retail client to call you as hosting provider and ask them, hey, I use this pool. Can you implement this wallet address in that pool or whatever? The only thing the customers have to do, they need to go to their settings. Then, of course, you see the profile settings. If you need KYC, okay, go for it. We can implement it for you. But then you see something which is called the address book. So as a retail client, the only thing you have to do is implement your wallet addresses, which you are using, call them with a nickname, Coinbase, Binance, and you can decide on which wallet address you are mining the next days. So what happens is the wallet address you place in here is forwarded to the pool, and the pool is on the device, of course. So MeasureX takes care of the setup of the device also. So we tell the device, this is the sub account of Trevor as retail client, and Trevor wants to mine to this wallet. Again, we have nothing to do with the coins. We have nothing to do with what is happening inside the device, because we are not allowed, the hosting provider is not allowed. So no third party, let's say, well, we are not the intermediate. It's still peer-to-peer from the pool to the customer. We just help the customer to set it up in an automated way.
Yeah, you're just handling all the back end stuff. You're not actually handling the transference of the Bitcoin itself. You're just helping them set their pool up. You're helping them to like switch between wallets. I think this is a great way for normies, especially to get into Bitcoin. So like getting with a hosting provider that provides this sort of platform is very easy for the end user to get into mining. I think this is a way for hosting providers to upscale their operations and make it look a lot more professional at the end of the day.
Yeah, indeed. That's the goal, to help you as hosting provider have a nice, transparent solution for your clients in your look and feel, help your clients to automate their processes, and of course, give you as hosting provider also full overview of everything.
Yeah.
What we just discussed the last minutes, this is just everything which is happening inside the custom area. But of course, you as a provider, you also have your own admin area where you see all customers, all orders, all devices, all your locations, everything in one big overview, to keep track on your operations, not just on a monitoring level, but more on a sales, e-commerce, and after sales level, and support level, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that was a really great overview of MeasureX and what you guys are doing. I feel like I have a much deeper comprehension of the services that you provide for hosting providers, and I think as I've kind of just been saying this whole time, I think this is really great. I think, we need more things like this that allow the hosting provider and the end user to communicate indirectly without having all of these, tickets on like, hey, I've got this problem, I need this solution, yada, yada. And it helps the hosting providers feel more secure in the business that they're building, the brand recognition that they're building, and helping the end user trust that hosting provider and saying, hey, you're purchasing my electricity, or you're purchasing my machines, I'm giving you all this money. Where is that money going? And how do I know, like, hey, you're taking care of me on the other end? So I think this is great. As far as MeasureX goes, like what are some of the features? Like, are there new features coming out? Like, what's next for MeasureX?
Yeah. First of all, what's next? We always have some nice ideas in mind. how to increase the sales process, because our focus is really to help you as hosting provider to make your customers happy also on a later stage. So what we are working on at the moment are more sales tools. So besides just automated emails, of course, we help you to push your sales with your retail clients, and also to help your retail clients to increase profitability. The more profitable your customers are, the better for you as hosting provider. If your customer is overclocking, okay, nice, because he's earning more Bitcoins, but you're also earning more money because he's purchasing more electricity. So therefore, of course, we would like to give them also the tools to manage even on the, let's say, firmware level within MeasureX. So the new functions at the moment, you just see restart, you see report an issue, but at a later stage, there's also something, so let's say more functions on really the software level of the device. Just click overclock or normal mode, whatever, within MeasureX. You don't have to open the dashboard of the miner itself via VPN or whatever. Of course, there's way more to that, and you need to stay tuned to what is coming. This was just one example of what is coming, but we have a lot of ideas in mind. I think our roadmap is, or our idea box is filled for the next 2.5 years minimum. So
I love it.
There's
Awesome.
a lot to come.
So for a hosting provider, I don't know if you're able to share this information, but just let me know if you can or can't. But what does it look cost wise for a hosting provider to integrate MeasureX into their platform?
Yeah, interesting question. Also, one of the most important questions we always receive when we have demo meetings. We have a different approach also here. Normally it's a license subscription. So you purchase a license for how many devices, whatever, or users. We have a different model. As I said, we see ourselves a bit like the Uber or Airbnb solution in the Bitcoin mining industry. So we help the hosting providers to connect to the retail client, and we take care of the in-between. So we take care of the contract creation, billing, and all that stuff. And therefore, we have the same approach like these platforms. So we take a transaction fee, which is in our eyes the best way, because the more you as hosting provider sell to your clients, the better for us. So we have the intention to help you and give you as many tools as possible to increase your sales. And the happier your retail clients are, the more you sell and the better for us. That's why we take a small transaction fee for handling the transactions, handling the support, handling the sales, and all that stuff.
Got you. I think that is a good approach. The approach of, hey, you profit, we profit. If you don't profit, we don't profit. So we're enabling you to make more profits. We're trying to help you, create a better scenario for your end user and your clients, and that in turn helps us profit as a company, as a corporation. I think that's a beautiful model, and I really like that. Thank you for that explanation. So as we start to wrap up here, Til, I got a couple of questions, and this is kind of just me gauging, where you stand in the space and like what your thoughts and opinions are. So the first question is, how do you see the mining space, the Bitcoin mining space evolving in the next, 3 to 5 years?
Good point. So of course, as I see it personally, there's a lot of stuff coming when it comes to large scale operations, especially in the US. You see it already with grid balancing and curtailment management on a really large scale, or publicly listed Bitcoin mining company level. This is evolving even more as everybody sees now the benefits of this, or how can Bitcoin mining help the people. But of course, even on the retail, or also on the retail customer level, I see even more evolving that there are more people who would like to dive deeper into Bitcoin mining. But especially in Europe, they don't have the possibility to that, because here in Europe, you cannot just place your equipment because it doesn't make sense. It's just too expensive. So there will be more people in the next years who would like to own their equipment, who would like to run the equipment in another location, maybe also at a site in the US, for example, which is used for grid balancing and curtailment, whatever. But what if it's not just owned by one company? If it's owned by, let's say, 10,000 people owning separate devices? It's nice for, let's say, diversification for the company. It's nice for the income stream and security for the hosting provider, and also concerning the risk. So long story short, I see Bitcoin mining evolving a lot, especially in countries with low cost energy or problems with the grid, like the US, or Africa, South America, but also even more interest from the retail customer side in Bitcoin mining.
So long story short, mining is going to grow and it's going to exponentially just blow up here in the next 5 years. I would agree with that sentiment. Last question, and I ask everybody this question: what does Bitcoin mean to you, Til?
Bitcoin means to me a complete separate way or a complete separate ecosystem. Ecosystem, especially in the case like you said, it's completely new. Not anymore at the moment, but there's still so much room for ideas and possibilities. You don't have the big players like Google, Amazon in the mining space. Here, there's still room for a lot of new products, ideas, and so on. So beside, let's say, the Bitcoin maxi view that Bitcoin is the better money and all these kind of things, which I 100% agree with, it's also nice for, let's say, young people to find something where they can just evolve their ideas. Now, if you would like to start a company in the Bitcoin mining or in the Bitcoin industry in general, there are so many possibilities because we still have so many problems, and that's a huge potential for a lot of founders, a lot of people worldwide. Again, beside the normal Bitcoin maxi story, which I 100% agree with.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, the greatest, well, one of the greatest, I say the greatest thing all the time, but one of the greatest things about Bitcoin is the fact that because it's money and because it's a technological revolution, I mean, there are so many different pieces that you can overlay on top of it. And it means that from no matter what sector, what industry, what side of the world you come in on, you can overlay Bitcoin on top of whatever it is that you're doing. I come from a contractor's background. I build things, porches, fences, like I fix things. And it's so easy for me to overlay Bitcoin on top of this because hey, I accept Bitcoin as payment and I use that as a payment rail. So hey, boom, Bitcoin's on top of it. It doesn't matter if you're a web developer, it doesn't matter if you're, a software developer, a hardware developer, or an engineer or whatever. Like, you can overlay Bitcoin on top of it. And that is the best part about Bitcoin in a sense that like it just integrates into every part and every facet of the world today.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. Yeah.
Well, Til, I want to say thank you for coming on to the podcast and explaining MeasureX in a way that is really easy for me to understand. And if I can understand it, then I know that my audience can understand it because I promise I am dumber than most of the people that watch this show. So I want to say thank you very much for coming on and for doing that. Before I let you go, last pieces, final advice, and where can people find you?
Yeah, of course, everybody can find us on LinkedIn. Just search my name or just search MeasureX. Then, of course, our website, MeasureX.io. Just feel free to contact us, get in touch with us, with the sales team, especially when you would like to have a deeper dive into the admin area, because we just discussed how it looks for the customer. But of course, there's way, way more to discover when it comes to how does it look for you as a hosting provider. So just take a look at our website or give us a call or send an email that you would like to have a demo. And then we can give you a deep dive demo of how does the admin area look like for you as a hosting provider.
Awesome. And any final pieces of advice for our audience?
Just stay tuned and of course learn a lot and try everything out which is possible in the mining industry or especially in the Bitcoin space.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. We will see you guys next time.
Thanks a lot. See you next time.